Hi everybody and welcome back to our second episode of Fix My Habitat. First of all, I want to thank you all for your positive feedback on this series, and also for you guys that are participating and sending me your zoos. You still can send me your zoos via email. We still have some room for more, so don't hesitate and just send them in, so I will have some more work for you to do. Today we are building in Rebecca's zoo. She sent me that file, and she is going to build a city-like zoo, and she told me to fix her habitat for the Springbok. So we're not having a very hard time this time to find the actual habitat, because the Springbok habitat is the only habitat actually that we have in the zoo at the moment. So we're going to not really fix this, because you only can fix what is broken, but this is not broken. We can pimp it up a little bit. So the thing I don't want to do is to delete everything and build my own stuff. So I try to keep as many things as possible, except the interior. I will delete the complete interior, but I think we definitely will keep the house over here, because it looks quite nice. We might make a little changes, and I also try to keep the style of the walls around it. I see what you're going for here. You are going for realism, which I like very, very much. I will have a few changes in here. I already saw this, and I was not really sure what this might be, because elevated bedding is a nice thing, even with the ramp, but it doesn't really work, in my opinion, for the Springbok. In reality, this would be too dangerous for them to use this, because they could jump up on there and break their legs or whatever. So I hope you're not mad at me if I delete this. Okay, so I need a few minutes to think about what we are going to do here. I also think we are not going to keep it this geometric here. Even if it is a city zoo, we're gonna bring in some more shape and make it look a little bit more interesting. And also for the plants, I see what you're doing here with putting this tree down, but if you put it down a little further and would use a little more of them, like this. Just for example, you could make it look a little more interesting and a little bit more realistic. So just my opinion. Okay, so give me a second. Let me think about what we are going to do here, and then I will be back with you in the time lapse. So welcome to the time lapse. First of all, we have to delete everything. We boxed up all the animals so that they won't disturb us while we are building in this habitat, and afterwards we have to delete just everything. You will see that I didn't record everything that I did, because there will be some jumps like that, because I was lost in detail. I thought this episode would be a little shorter and I would finish it a little quicker, because it had no underwater viewing area, and it was the Springbok and not the sea lion. But I managed to get lost in detail a little bit, because I wanted to do this and then that, and then I saw there is something else I could do. So okay, there's that. So I had to cut a few bits out of the video. After we deleted everything, path, fences, walls, plants, rocks, and all the other stuff, I decided we are going to make a trench towards the visitors, because that's something you would see in a lot of city zoos, that there will be some kind of a dry trench where that separates the animals from the visitors. So there will be no water in it, and it will be steep enough that the animals won't be able to escape. On the other side, we wanted that trench to be not that steep on the side of the animals, so that they can use the whole terrain. I also tried to make the habitat not much bigger than it was before, but I ended up making it a little bigger. Because I know habitats in like city zoos are mostly not that big. Okay, here I ended up deleting a part of the building, because I thought it was a little bit too big, and I wanted to change the part that I deleted, because I saw that Rebecca was going for some kind of stable or separation. At least I thought it was meant to be that way, so I tried to make it a little smaller and add something later on. I really love the idea with the wooden pieces here to decorate the outside of the building, but I thought it would fit a little more if we go on with the rock theme. So I decided to use these stone blocks from the East Asia. Was it the East Asian pack where we got these, or did we have that from the beginning? I think we had that these pieces from the beginning. So I used this stone blocks to make some kind of a foundation for the building that makes it look a little bit more realistic. And also I decided to decorate the building also with these rock pieces, and don't use the wood pieces. But I left the wood pieces for the windows. I didn't touch the windows at all. I thought they were looking pretty nice, and they didn't have necessary. It wasn't necessary to change it. Okay, as you can see, we keep it in the way that Rebecca decorated the building. I just used different pieces and changed it slightly. One thing that I'm doing here now is something that I also did with the build of Mariah in the last episode with the sea lions. I wanted to make it look a little bit more functional, so I decided it would look nice if we have actual doors for the stable, so that you would be able, in theory, to close the doors at night when the zoo closes and you lock in all the animals. I had a little hard time, and it took me several minutes to find something that I could use as a doorknob. I ended up with this. This is some plaster piece from the North Africa pack that we got. I colored it in black, and I think it fits perfect as a doorknob. But as I said, that was something that I also cut out of the video, because I was literally sitting there for about 20 minutes until I found a piece that would work perfectly. And I can tell you right now that I definitely will forget about that piece, and it will take me another 20 minutes the next time that I'm looking for something like this. Yeah, so we're also going to decorate the backside of the building, as in the zoo Rebecca had the path go completely around the habitat. So I decided we had to do something at the backside as well, because visitors might walk around there. By the way, by creating your path, I would recommend you to not go completely around a habitat, because that would make your path system very, very difficult. And you would have paths all around your zoo. So if you look for real zoos, you might have a path that goes around the whole zoo, and almost no path will go around every habitat in a circle, so that you can look only from one side into a habitat. What I'm building here is something that I thought Rebecca also intended to do. This is some kind of separation, because you might see in some zoos, or in many zoos, that almost with every herbivore, or antelopes, buffaloes, cattle, or whatever, there might be separation dogs for them, so where they can separate the males from the rest of the group if they don't want them to breed, or if there are babies in the group, so that the males won't disturb the other animals. So that's something that I did here as well. So in theory you could separate the males from the females. Or you can use, or you could use it as kind of a as kind of a quarantine as well. So if you have sick animals, you can keep them in there. And here's something that Rebecca also did, which I thought was a very nice idea, and you see in many zoos. They decorate, or they cover parts of the stone walls with wood. I think that might be especially for animals with horns, so where they can shrub their horns against, and won't destroy their horns. I wasn't quite happy with the logs that I used to take for this, but in the end I once again ended up with some Arctic pieces that I thought would fit perfectly and look nice. And yeah, I used them a lot in my sandbox zoo, in Swamp Lake Zoo, so I'm very used to that, and I think they fit perfectly and it looks kind of nice. So now we have to go around the habitat with this wall, not complete, but especially on the sides, because you want visitors not to be able to look everywhere inside the habitat, especially with the Springbok that is a little sensitive, that will be easily disturbed by visitors. That was something I thought about as well as I was building this, because yeah, we're coming to that in a minute. I thought about it for the fence that I wanted to use in the front of the habitat, where visitors could look into the habitat of the Springbok. Usually with antelopes, gazelles, and so on, you want you will see that in most of the zoos you have a free look at them, I might call it. So there would be some kind of a fence and no glass walls or something like that. But in this game you have the problem with the Springboks and with most antelopes and gazelles that are easily disturbed, that you can't use a simple fence. Because if you use that, it will take just a few minutes, and you will get the notification that your animals are highly disturbed and feel unwell and are stressed, and yeah. So what I did here, first of all, I used the art pieces to build this. That's something you might see as well in some city zoos, that when they have these trenches, they fix them, or they cover them with some kind of concrete, so that it doesn't look that natural anymore, but very much man-made. So to get back to what I was trying to tell you is, you might see fences in real zoos. When you look at gazelles and antelopes, this wouldn't work here because they get highly stressed. So I decided I wanted to have the fence look, but I also wanted to protect the animals from getting stressed. So I did something like this. I used the chain link. I used the wooden pieces to cover them, and also the metal beams. And behind that, I was using the one-sided glass, so that you might have, that you might think it would be an actual chain link fence, but the animals can't see through from their side. So I think this is a nice way to keep the illusion, but also trick the animals a little bit. So now we're putting the fence all around the habitat. Yeah, and we're finished. I cut that out. And now we are going to build the path around it again. So I decided to not go with the grid, to make it a little more, not that stiff. And then I decided we have to do something with the walls as well, because they were looking a little bit plain and naked and boring. So I decided we have to do at least a little bit to make it look a little bit more interesting, and so that they would fit the theme of the building. I once again used these rock pieces, these East Asian rock pieces, and I covered the wall all around the habitat. I was also thinking when I recorded this episode about the name Springbok, because I found it interesting that most of the animals have different names in English than they have in German. But with the Springbok, it's almost the same name that we have in Germany for this animal. We call it Springbok. So it's the same, just pronounced a little different. And I thought about it, where that might come from. So I guess it would be the case that Springbok is some kind of Afrikaans name, and Afrikaans has very much similarities to Dutch and to German because of colonialization, and I guess that's the case why the Springbok is called Springbok, and we have that name in English and in German as well, and we have no different name for them. Might be, might not be. So if you know why this is in this case, just tell me in the comment section, because I would really be interested in where that comes from. Okay, so we covered the walls, and now it's time to do a little more detail. That's what I meant when I got lost in detail. I thought we could also cover up the path here to make it look a little more nice. So I used this wall pieces as foundation to make some kind of separation between the guests and the habitat. And I also put down these mulch pieces, because I thought for this gap it would be nice to have a little bit of plants in there, because that's something you also would see in a city zoo, and most likely at the beginning of a zoo, for the first habitats where you want everything to look nice and clean, and so that's why I decided to put down some of the azaleas here. And also, I didn't know where your zoo was located, but because of the trees in the background, I thought it would be some kind of European zoo. And Rebecca told me in the comments that she she wanted me to use as a reference the zoo from York, which I had a hard time to find, because there's also a fashion brand that's called Zoo York, or something like that. So to find actual pictures of a zoo in York and not in New York, or the fashion brand, was a little bit difficult. So I thought this would maybe be a zoo placed somewhere in Europe, so I used European plants for the outside of the habitat. In the inside I was using African plants because I saw that Rebecca also used the African plants, so I kept it that way. And in the end, you want to make your animals happy, and they won't be happy if they only got European foliage in their habitat. In real life, they won't mind it, but in Planet Zoo, they would have a problem with it. So, okay, as you can see, I already put down many rocks. And before I forget about it, I was going to build the actual barriers. I used the no barriers for this because, as you can see, we already got those custom fencing all around the habitat, so there's no need for some of the in-game fences to use. Then we have to cover that hole in the wall with a door, so that we don't have any gaps in here. Also the door from the inside as well, to make it look a little nicer. And then we can start to cover the habitat with foliage. So we unboxed every animal again, and then we are going to cover this up. Usually I don't look too much into how many foliage the animals like in their habitat. In this case, I tried to fit their needs a little better, but in the end, I decided we have to go with a little more foliage because it just looks nicer, and the animals, you might see in the end, they are still very happy with 98%, I think. So they don't mind a little too much foliage. So that means if you want to, then go wild with it. Nevertheless, I deleted some of the trees because I wanted to put some shrubbery, some grass and some bushes into the habitat, because that's something you always have to put down, especially when you have you build something with rocks. You want to fill some gaps with grass or with bushes, because that makes it look so much nicer. And also these trees that I put down make it look so much more nicer and lush if you cover some areas with them. Just try it for yourself. Just take some trees, as you saw in the beginning. Rebecca already did that. And take some trees, sink them to the ground, and see how it works, because a lot of the trees look very, very, very good and perfect as bushes. So here's our final touches for the habitat. We gave the animals some enrichment items. some food and some water. Now we're placing down the information signs for the animals and some donation bins, and we're done. So let's have a look at this nice habitat. I think it's a nice improvement to how it looked before. It is much more lush, looks a little bit more realistic, and I hope I managed to fit the city zoo vibe that you were going for. Just a few beddings for the animals inside the house so that they actually use it. I also will put down some enrichment item on the separation paddock, because in the end we want the animals to use it as well, and I fear they won't go there if we don't put some enrichment item inside. So I decided to put this ball with food inside of it so that the animals might go inside there. I also wanted to put this in, but it didn't fit, so I was going just with the ball with the food. Yeah, and so that's it. We're done. We fixed or pimped that Springbok habitat. Rebecca, I hope you like it. I hope you're satisfied with what I did here. And if some of you guys want me to fix your habitat as well, just let me know in the comment section, or look at the description of the video. There is my email address where you can send me your save files from your zoo. And yeah, I will let you know if I chose your habitat, if I'm going to do it, and I would be glad if some more of you guys send in your zoos, because I think this is really fun. I have a lot of fun with doing it, and it also gives me a lot of inspiration to see what you guys were building in your zoos, and yeah, to improve what you already have built in your zoos. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, your zoos are not bad. I would never say this, but I have fun to improve them. So, bye guys.